If you're a lover of Mexican food or specifically Tex-Mex, you're definitely going to want to watch this video, because in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make soft and delicious flour tortillas using 100% freshly milled wheat. Hey everyone, welcome back to Grains and Grit. My name is Felicia. On this channel, we talk all things real whole grains from a biblical perspective. So in this video, as I stated, I'm going to be showing you how I make my own flour tortillas that took me forever to actually figure out. But with these flour tortillas, we're using 100% freshly milled wheat, and they come out soft. You can fold them over, they don't break, and they are super good. This recipe is actually March recipe for our Make Bread 365 challenge, where we're challenging ourselves to no longer buy bread from the store. And all through this year of 2023, each month we have a different recipe for y'all that you can follow along. And of course, with Grains and Grit, all of our recipes will have nothing but 100% freshly milled grains. So if you haven't heard about this challenge, then be sure to check it out. For all the details, just go to grainsandgrit.com/makebread365. And that's also where I keep the recipes for the year as well. For flour tortillas, it actually is not that difficult of a recipe, and no fancy mixers or anything like that are needed. It's very easy to do by hand. So let's get started. So first off, we need to mill our wheat berries. I like to use a soft white wheat berry to get a soft flour tortilla. You're just going to mill 2 cups of soft white wheat berries into a fine flour as normal that you usually do for a bread. You just need a fine flour here. And then to a bowl, we're going to add 2.5 cups of the freshly milled soft white wheat flour. And to that, we're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of salt, and then 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. And then here's just a pastry cutter that I use to just mix all of this in together. And then we're going to add 1/3 cup of lard. You can use shortening here, but I prefer not to use shortening. I definitely prefer to use lard. Let's have the real deal here, people. And then just like we do with biscuits and other recipes, we're going to cut in the lard until it resembles like this coarse structure that you see here. So it's just kind of looks like a really coarse flour. And then we're going to take our 1 cup of hot water, but don't just dump it all in, because it could vary day by day. So I just put a little bit of time, and then I like to use my Danish dough hook to start mixing it up. Add more water as needed. Basically, you're just wanting to mix it up until it's all incorporated together and it's pulling off the sides of the bowl like it is here. It is going to look like a rough dough, and that's fine, because then we're going to take it out and lightly dust our surface, and then we're going to knead it a bit. So you're probably going to need to put some flour on your hands and then start kneading. I like to use a scraper so I don't have to add more flour until you get a soft dough like this. It's nice and smooth and soft. And then we're going to divide it into our 10 little balls. So this recipe makes about 10 tortillas. Of course, you can make them bigger or smaller, but bottom line is you're wanting, this roughly makes about 10. You can weigh them to make sure that they're exact same size. I do not bother. I eyeball it. And then we just roll them up into smooth balls like you see here. And once we do that, we just are then going to place them on a platter. And then I like to take a little bit of extra lard, rub it over my hands as such, and then kind of pat them over all of the little tortilla balls. And then we need to let it rest. So cover this up with saran wrap. And then I would just like to cover up with an extra towel and let it rest for at least 30 minutes. After it rests, you're going to need a frying pan. This is about a 10-inch. I like to use nonstick, and then a good roller here. And then we're going to, again, lightly dust our surface. And this is where it's just going to take some practice to roll these out by hand. to get a good shape. I find when I use a tortilla press, it does not stay rolled out. It likes to shrink back in. So that's why I like to roll it out by hand. So as you can just see here, it just takes a little bit of maneuvering, just kind of going back and forth. Don't let it stick to your rolling pin. So always just add a little bit of flour as needed, just to make sure it's not sticking. And then we get it to the size. These are about 8-inch size tortillas. And once it's rolled out to a good size, you can see here that it is nice and thin, and it's not really going to be tearing. If you are experiencing tearing, you can, first of all, just fix it like this if it's a little tear. Otherwise, you may need to let your balls rest a bit longer. And here we have a frying pan that's preheated pretty hot. I have it on generally my hottest setting, and this is about maybe 15-20 seconds. You're going to start seeing these wonderful little bubbles to start to rise, and that's what you want to see. And once I see several bubbles, I then flip it over. It's looking great on the other side. Wait about another 15-20 seconds, and then this looks great, and then I remove it and put it into a basically a towel lined bowl. So let's do this again in sped up mode. So here I am. So as one is cooking, you can see that I'm rolling out another tortilla, and this really doesn't take too much time, especially once you get the hang of it. But you want it to bubble up like that, really nice, and you know that it's time to flip it. You're generally going to just kind of figure this out. But as you can see, these are a bit darker spots than I typically like. And so when I see them where they're a bit darker, I do turn down my heat just a little bit. And this is an adjustment that you may have to do. But here they are all in a bowl. And as you can see, they're nice and warm. Well, you can't see that they're warm, but they're nice and warm, but they're soft and they fold over very easily. You want to keep them like this to keep them warm. And as you can see, they're not breaking apart when I roll them together, and they're absolutely delicious. And to serve with a meal, just make sure that you keep them covered like this to keep them nice and hot. And that's it, y'all. I would have tortillas to show you now, except I did make them for supper and my family completely devoured them in about 0.5 seconds. So no more flour tortillas to show you right now, but these are super, super good. And like I said, pretty easy. The main thing that you need to work on is rolling them out where they actually look pretty, but ultimately what matters is that they taste really good. As always, just remember there is a printable recipe for you guys in the description box below. All my recipes are on my website, grainsandgrit.com/recipes. And hopefully y'all are joining us for the Make Bread 365 challenge. Again, details on my website for that as well. Hopefully y'all enjoy these wonderful, delicious flour tortillas. Do remember, if you're looking for corn tortillas, I have already done videos on that as well, and I'll link those in the description box. Hope y'all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next week. Bye.